All right, so we're continuing and we're looking at number 50. So it says if 2x minus 2 over x squared plus 3x minus 3 over x equals 0, then x could be which of the following? So you have 5 answer choices. In all honesty, I would just plug those in. Okay, so I'd plug in A is -2, so I'd substitute -2 for the x. And I would type it in exactly as I see it, all on that left side. And make sure when you substitute that you put it in parentheses. And so I would just type that into my calculator, press enter, and I see if it equals 0. And A does not, so that's out. Then I'm going to do the same with B. So you would do the same. You would just plug away. And what you'll notice is when you substitute -1 in there, you end up getting 0 in your calculator, and that equals 0. So therefore, it is -1, which is letter B. So again, it is very, very important that that you work quickly with your keystrokes, yet efficiently. Make sure that you don't make any errors so that you can work quickly. But truly, that number 50, all you can really do is substitute those numbers in. And really, it's just more of a, do you know what to do when you're given those answer choices and how to use them? Okay. Now looking at number 44. So it says a person's body mass index, BMI, varies directly as the person's weight in kilograms and inversely as the square of the person's height in meters. So K represents the constant of variation, and we want to know which of the following expressions represents the BMI of a person who weighs W kilograms and is H meters tall. Okay, so the big thing is, and this is something very important to know for the ACT, is the difference between direct variation and indirect variation. So direct variation is y equals kx. And then indirect is y equals k over x. Okay, so indirect, you have division. Direct, it's just that straight up multiplication. Because think about it. If you're very direct with somebody, you're very straight up with them. But if you're indirect, you're kind of passive aggressive and you're just dropping hints to try to like get them on to the point. It's almost like if something's in your teeth, you know, a direct person would just say, hey, you've got something in your teeth. Okay, they're just straight on. So it's k times x. But indirect, they'd be pointing to their own teeth, just trying to like send the message that that person has something in their teeth, so they aren't really being blatant about it. So that's k divided by x. So that's kind of, you know, a viewpoint that you could look at. So we know that k is the constant. That's what we're told in the word problem. W is the weight. That's what we're told again in the word problem. And h is the height. Okay, so what we need to do is, it says the body mass varies directly as the person's weight. So that, remember the constant, that's your K, so it varies directly with the weight. So it's KW instead of X because W is the weight, okay? And inversely as the square of the person's height. So that means the square of the person's height has to go in the denominator. So then I get KW over H squared, which is letter G on that ACT. So you just kind of have to piece it together. It's almost like translating a foreign language, really, with something like that. You just need to translate those words in direct and indirect variation, and then utilize that with that translation. Then finally, we have number 36. So it says for all of x being greater than 21, and you have x squared plus 8x plus 7 times x minus 3 all over x squared plus 4x minus 21 times x plus 1. And we want to know what that's going to equal. So a lot of people would look at this and like, oh, well, I'm going to have to factor, but it's already factored, but I can't reduce anything, and what's going on, and how am I able to do this, and all of that stuff. So one thing truly that you could do, one thing that you really could do is you could just substitute a value for x that is bigger than 21 and just type it in as you see it, like 22. Okay, so I could just type in 22, and when I type in 22, type it all into the calculator, do all those keystrokes, I will get 1 as my answer, which matches letter F. Okay, another approach is truly you could factor it. If I factored this trinomial, because while it looks like it's factored, I've got a trinomial to factor. If I did the x method, I get x plus 7 times x plus 1, and then I have the x minus 3. In my denominator, this trinomial, I get x plus 7 times x minus 3, and then I tack on the x plus 1. If you notice now, I'm able to reduce the x minus 3s, the x plus 1s, and the x plus 7s to get 1, which is letter F. So again, you could just type in and substitute of, something that works, something that is bigger than 21. Like I said, you could substitute in 22 and you would end up getting 1. Okay, so that is one approach that you can take if you can't factor it. So you do have options here with number 36. You could, again, either factor or just substitute a number that is bigger than 21. And that wraps up all of our ACT ones.